to the Canadian TSB?
To separate that question, Senator,
Sure.
Point in time where we approved a final report was after we considered that table that matched the work that had been done with the banding.
Sorry, can you say it again? The final report?
So the final report, as it then was, that was being discussed in the Senate inquiry, at that point in time, we had been satisfied that the matters raised in the special audit were adequately addressed. We no longer are of that view, and we expect that the reopened investigation will revisit the question of the special audit.
So you're no longer of that view in relation to the weight of the special audit?
That's something that we expect will be revisited in the course of the reopened investigation,
Right.
Senator.
So in other words, will the special audit and the Chamber's report be considered in the new investigation into the PelAir ditching?
Yes, Senator.
Right. And this is something that concerns me, and maybe the Chair can assist me on this. It is my last question, Chair, you'd be pleased to know. I'm trying to, stick to time here. Will any of the same staff from the previous investigation being involved in the new investigation?
No, Senator, with one small exception. Dr. Walker, who is the investigator in charge, had a small involvement in overseeing some or reviewing some work that was done in relation specifically to fatigue in the original report. But that's the only connection of anyone who's involved in the team.
Well, it's still part of the same organisation. There's that whole issue of being part of the same institution. The Canadian TSB basically suggested that there ought to be a new report done or a new investigation carried out.
I don't think the Canadians formed a view on that, Senator. They drew attention to areas where they considered that we had not adequately applied our own methodologies and processes.
They basically said, to be fair, the Canadian TSB said you've got, the ATSB has got good methodology, good processes, but they weren't fully carried out in respect of the PelAir ditching.
That's correct, Senator, and that's the basis on which...
neutral way of putting it.
And that's the basis on which the Commission determined to reopen the investigation.
Sure. So how can you assure this committee, and indeed all those involved in the PelAir ditching, that there will be no bias on the part of the ATSB, that it will be a de novo, a fresh look at what was a very serious incident?
There are three things, Senator, with that minor exception that I referred to. Those that are involved in this round of the investigation were not involved in the original in the reopened investigation, were not involved in the original investigation. Secondly, the point that the Canadians most particularly made was that although our methodologies are sound, they were not adequately applied or supervised in this case, and we have a new oversight of this arrangement.
So who will oversee that?
Mr Walsh will be overseeing the work of the investigator in charge in this case.
And Mr Walsh wasn't involved in the PelAir
No, he was not. He was involved in giving evidence to the committee about the broader shape of the ATSB's policies, procedures and so on, because that's part of his territory. Dr Mike Walker, who is the investigator in charge, is a highly regarded and world expert on matters of organisational factors in safety investigations and human factors, and is in large part responsible for the methodologies and the analysis arrangements that the ATSB has in place that the TSB was quite satisfied with. And we have the clear indication from our colleagues in the Transportation Safety Board, from the point of view of the Commission, as to those areas where there was insufficient review, governance and appropriate control of the original investigation. So we feel that there's a capacity there to run a perfectly good investigation, which of course will be judged by the quality of the final report.
So you don't think there's a risk of a perception of Caesar judging Caesar in respect to this?
I think there's a possibility of that perception, Senator. The other point I would make is that the only power to reopen an investigation of a safety matter of this kind is under the TSI Act and must be with the ATSB.
Right, so there is no capacity to outsource it to another similar body. In other words, could you ask the Canadian TSB to do the investigation de novo?
No, Senator.
Right, you have there's no capacity in the legislation.
As I understand it, Senator, no capacity, and the requirement is in the end that the Commission of the ATSB consider the final report and publish it.
And in